Some discoveries feel normal. These didn't. Throughout 2025, archaeologists uncovered objects that instantly raised eyebrows, items that looked out of place, misunderstood, or almost uncomfortable to explain. Not tools meant for daily life, and not decorations made just to impress. These artifacts hint at rituals, beliefs, fears, and ideas that don't fit neatly into history books. Each one feels intentional, personal, and strangely familiar despite its age. Together, they paint a picture of ancient people who thought deeply, acted symbolically, and left behind things we're still trying to understand. Lead Menorah Pendant, Jerusalem, Israel. Look at a relic that shouldn't exist where it was found. Buried deep beneath Jerusalem's most contested ground, this heavy lead pendant quietly defies what historians believed about who was allowed to be there. One symbol, cast in an unlikely material, carries a message that survived silence, restriction, and centuries underground. The object is a disc-shaped pendant made of lead, engraved with a 7-branched menorah on both sides. According to popular mechanics, laboratory testing revealed that the pendant is composed of roughly 99% lead, a highly unusual material choice for religious jewelry. Popular mechanics dates the artifact to around 1300 years ago, placing it in the late Byzantine period between the 6th and early 7th centuries. It was discovered at the Davidson Archaeological Park, buried beneath fill near the Temple Mount, approximately 26 feet below the surface, as reported by popular mechanics. Obsidian Mirror, Çanhasan/Kanhasan, Central Turkey. In the world of ancient craftsmanship, mirrors weren't meant to be easy. This one demanded patience bordering on obsession, carved from volcanic glass long before metal tools existed. It doesn't reflect vanity, it reflects belief. Whoever polished this surface wasn't checking appearances, they were searching for meaning staring back at them. The artifact is a highly polished mirror made entirely from obsidian, a volcanic glass more commonly used for sharp tools than reflective surfaces. According to All That's Interesting, the mirror dates back roughly 8,500 years, placing its creation around 6,500 BCE. While obsidian blades and cutting implements are relatively common in ancient sites, All That's Interesting notes that obsidian mirrors are exceptionally rare because shaping and polishing the material to this level requires extreme skill, time, and precision. Researchers cited by All That's Interesting believe the object likely carried symbolic or ritual significance rather than serving a practical purpose. Engraved obsidian arrowheads, Kanasan, Central Turkey. What do you think about weapons that weren't just built to kill? These arrowheads were sharpened for survival, yet decorated with intention. Every etched line suggests identity, status, or ritual beyond the hunt. When a tool becomes art, violence stops being simple and starts telling stories we still struggle to read. The objects are obsidian arrowheads marked with fine linear incisions, carefully carved into their surfaces. According to All That's Interesting, these engraved patterns are described as unique and region-specific, standing apart from purely functional designs seen on typical hunting weapons. Researchers cited by All That's Interesting suggest the markings may have been tied to meaning, social status, or ritual practices rather than utility alone. What makes the discovery especially unusual is that obsidian arrowheads were essential hunting technology, yet these examples were deliberately decorated like symbolic objects. Human-faced T-shaped pillar, Karahantepe, Turkey. Something is unsettling about a structure that finally stares back. For years, these towering stone pillars hinted at human form without committing to it. Then this one appeared, complete with a carved face. It closes a visual sentence begun thousands of years earlier, and forces us to confront who was being represented. The discovery is a T-shaped stone pillar carved with a clearly defined human face, uncovered at the Neolithic site of Karahantepe in Turkey. According to Smithsonian Magazine, the pillar dates back roughly 11,000 years, placing it among the earliest known monumental stone constructions created by human hands. Standing at about 4.5 feet tall, its scale makes the facial carving impossible to overlook. Smithsonian Magazine explains that earlier T-shaped pillars in the region already appeared human-like, often featuring carved arms or hands along their sides. Storytelling figurine trio, fox, vulture, wild boar, Karahantepe, Turkey. And there is the moment storytelling may have first taken physical shape. 3 tiny animals, carefully chosen, deliberately placed, and hidden like a secret. This isn't decoration, it's narrative frozen in stone. Long before writing, someone arranged meaning itself and tucked it away, trusting future hands would understand. According to Reuters, each figurine dates back approximately 11,500 years, placing them among the earliest known symbolic objects from the Neolithic period. Each figure measures about 3.5 centimeters tall, making their level of detail especially striking. Reuters reports that the figurines were found inside a small lidded container, which itself had been placed inside a larger vessel, with each animal's head carefully set into a limestone ring. Archaeologists cited by Reuters describe the arrangement as the first known example of objects intentionally organized to convey a narrative, effectively functioning as prehistoric story props rather than isolated decorative items. Jade and Shell Mosaic Death Mask, Caracol, Belize. Come to the world where power followed you into death. This mask wasn't designed to comfort the living. It was crafted to assert identity beyond life itself. Every jade fragment mattered. Every shell carried weight. Buried with royalty, it hints at politics, alliances, and beliefs stretching far beyond a single grave. The artifact is a mosaic death mask constructed from jadeite or jade combined with shells, discovered alongside other elite grave goods, as reported by National Geographic. The mask was found inside a richly furnished tomb connected to Caracol's early royal lineage, and researchers cited by National Geographic indicate that the individual buried there may have been Tekab Chak, the city's founding ruler, although that identification has not yet been confirmed with absolute certainty. What makes the discovery especially bizarre is not just the dramatic nature of mosaic funerary masks themselves, but the broader implications of the tomb's contents. Roman marble sarcophagus, Dionysus versus Hercules, drinking contest, Caesarea, Israel. What if your final resting place was carved with laughter, wine, and divine humiliation? This sarcophagus doesn't whisper solemnity. It celebrates excess. Gods drink, heroes lose, and the dead lie beneath it all. Somewhere between humor and hubris, this coffin challenges how the Romans viewed death itself. The artifact is a marble sarcophagus carved with an unusual and lively scene, showing a drunken contest between the gods Dionysus and Hercules, with Dionysus emerging victorious. What makes the imagery especially striking is that it rejects the calm, orderly depictions typically associated with burial art. As noted by Smithsonian Magazine, instead of serenity or spiritual ascent, the carving presents a mythic party battle filled with intoxication and mockery. This kind of iconography is considered rare for funerary contexts, making the sarcophagus an unexpected blend of humor, mythology, and mortality, carved directly into stone. Camarat 4, deep shipwreck cargo, off Ramatuelle, France. In the silence 2 kilometers beneath the sea, an entire moment in history stopped moving. Plates still wait to be used, cannons never fired. Cargo remains arranged like a paused breath. This ship didn't just sink, it vanished into a place humans were never meant to reach, preserving time unnaturally well. The discovery is a 16th century merchant shipwreck known as Camarat 4, located off the coast of Ramatuelle, France, and identified as being found at a record-breaking depth. Archaeology magazine reports that surveys of the site revealed an extraordinary cargo, including roughly 200 ceramic jugs, around 100 plates, 6 cannons, and 2 large cauldrons, all remarkably intact. What makes the find especially bizarre, as noted by Archaeology magazine, is that the shipwreck functions like a sealed time capsule resting in the deep ocean, where the extreme depth has created an unusually stable environment that allowed everyday objects from the 16th century to survive almost untouched. Pompeii, drinking den, megalography paintings, Pompeii, Italy. Step inside a room designed to overwhelm. Walls pulse with life-sized figures locked in ritual, intoxication, and transformation. This wasn't casual decoration for guests. It was an initiation atmosphere. When Pompeii froze in ash, it preserved not just art, but a space meant to alter the minds of those inside. Hidden within Pompeii was a large banqueting room whose walls were covered with almost life-sized painted figures, a style known as megalography, closely associated with Dionysian cult imagery. As reported by HISTRO, the scale and intensity of these paintings immediately set the room apart from typical domestic spaces. The entire setting was sealed and preserved during the catastrophic eruption of Mount Vesuvius in AD 79, locking the artwork in its original context. Rather than depicting simple feasting or leisure, history explains that the imagery points toward mystery cult initiation themes involving transformation, intoxication, and altered states. Villa Poppaea, Paehan fresco, Oplantis near Pompeii, Italy. Some discoveries whisper through symmetry. A peahen appears on the wall, elegant and deliberate, echoing a peacock found years earlier nearby. Together they suggest planning, symbolism, and balance. Luxury villas weren't random displays of wealth. They were carefully curated worlds where even animals played symbolic roles. The artwork is a near-complete wall fresco depicting a peahen with only the head missing, discovered inside the Villa Poppaea at Oplantis, near Pompeii. According to Reuters, the level of preservation makes the bird's body, feathers, and posture remarkably clear, despite the damage. What makes the fresco especially unusual is how closely it mirrors a peacock fresco uncovered earlier within the same villa complex. Reuters explains that the pairing appears intentional, suggesting a coordinated visual program rather than isolated decoration. In a luxury residence associated with elite Roman life, the deliberate placement of matching bird imagery points to deeper symbolic meaning, reinforcing the idea that these villas were designed with careful artistic balance rather than spontaneous ornamentation. Villa Poppaea comedy mask fragments, Oplantis near Pompeii, Italy. Imagine entertainment carved into domestic space, only to be sealed by disaster. These mask fragments once watched banquets, performances, and private moments. Theater wasn't confined to stages. It lived inside homes. When catastrophe struck, it trapped expressions of laughter and identity mid-performance, turning playfulness into something eerily permanent. Recovered from the Villa Poppaea at Oplantis near Pompeii, the discovery consists of fragments from a theatrical comedy mask found alongside and close to areas already decorated with other mask imagery. According to Reuters, the placement suggests the mask was not an isolated object, but part of a broader visual and cultural program within the elite residence. In Roman high society, masks carried complex meanings tied to performance, role-playing, and identity, often associated with theatrical or cultic practices. Neanderthal fingerprint stone with red ochre, central Spain. Long before modern humans claimed creativity, a Neanderthal pressed a finger into red pigment and left a mark. Not accidental, not random. Positioned to resemble a face, it forces a question science avoided for decades. Were they expressing something? or acknowledging themselves tens of thousands of years earlier? Picture a plain stone, then notice what history points out. A Neanderthal fingerprint made in red ochre, still visible after an almost unreal stretch of time. History dates it to around 43,000 years old, which alone makes the survival of that pigment shocking. What turns it from ancient to bizarre, though, is the placement. History reports the mark is argued to be intentional, positioned so the stone reads like a face through pareidolia, nudging the find into that uncomfortable category of art. Not because it's pretty, but because it suggests a mind-shaping meaning on purpose. Thutmose II tomb decoration, Amduat scenes, Valley of the Kings, Egypt. Sometimes the walls reveal what names cannot. These painted scenes from sacred texts weren't meant for ordinary burials. Their presence quietly overturned assumptions about who lay inside. Without inscriptions shouting authority, symbolism did the work instead, elevating a forgotten space into one that suddenly spoke the language of kings. Instead of titles carved in stone, the evidence appeared in paint. The tomb chamber was decorated with scenes from the Amduat, a sacred religious text that, according to history, was traditionally reserved for kings alone. This detail immediately changed how archaeologists understood the burial. What had initially been interpreted as belonging to a minor royal figure was re-evaluated once the wall imagery was examined closely. As history reports, the inclusion of Amduat scenes served as the key clue that shifted the tomb's status to a pharaoh-level burial context, pointing directly to Thutmose II. Bronze sistrum with Hathor's head, Tel Nebesha/Emet, Egypt. Sound once ruled the ceremony here. This bronze instrument wasn't background noise, it was a bridge between humans and gods. Shaken during rituals, it carried rhythm, devotion, and belief. That it survived intact feels unlikely, almost defiant, as if the object itself refused to let sacred sound disappear completely. Unlike statues or reliefs meant to remain still, this object was designed to move in the hands of worshippers. It is a bronze sistrum featuring the head of the goddess Hathor, an instrument directly tied to religious ceremony and ritual sound. Sistra were used to create rhythmic noise believed to please deities and mark sacred moments. What makes this example especially bizarre is its survival in intact form, despite being an object repeatedly handled, shaken, and exposed to constant use. Horus stela, Tel Nebesha/Emet, Egypt. End with a slab of stone that functioned as a conversation. This stela wasn't decoration, it was communication, carved solid. Through it, people appealed to protection, justice, and divine authority. Portable belief, standing upright. Unearthed from a rediscovered city, it reminds us that religion once traveled hand to hand. Rather than being fixed to a temple wall, this object was designed to stand independently, carried or placed wherever devotion was needed. It is a Horus stela, a religious stone slab associated with the god Horus, created to act as a direct interface between humans and the divine. Stelae like this were used for prayers, protection, and appeals for healing or justice, making belief something physical and accessible. What makes this discovery especially bizarre is the context of its recovery, emerging from a city site that is still being newly mapped and understood. These discoveries don't just add new objects to museum shelves. They change how we think about the people who made them. Each artifact reveals intention, belief, and creativity that refuse to feel primitive or distant. Together, they show that ancient societies wrestled with identity, ritual, power, and meaning in ways that still feel familiar. What makes these finds unsettling isn't their age, but their clarity. Across thousands of years, different cultures left behind objects meant to communicate, to be seen, touched, heard, or remembered. In 2025, archaeology didn't uncover answers. It uncovered conversations that are still waiting for us to listen. Now press the subscribe button for future updates. Thanks for watching and staying with us.